Welcome to this week's Dream Car judging video here at BOTB. We'd now like to hand over to today's lawyer from Onside Law who'll oversee the proceedings.
My name's Charlie Hanson from Onside Law and I'll be overseeing the judging this morning. Firstly, I can confirm that the competition data has already been sent to the auditing company Assets. I would now like today's judges to introduce themselves and, using the secure link provided, mark on the screen where they think the centre of the ball should be. The group will then come to a final panel decision.
Good morning, my name is Matt Cannon. I'm the Senior County Referee and Footballer.
Good morning, my name's Hugh Gilroy. I'm a referee, mentor, tutor and observer.
Good morning, my name's Andy Braithwaite and I'm a football referee, mentor and licensed observer.
Hi, my name is Kieran Fitzgibbon. I've played football for more than 30 years and I'm also a referee.
Hi, I'm Joe Thompson, ex-professional footballer and now your MUTV presenter.
I'm Nigel Hicks. I've been a Supply League match official for over 30 years and I'm an experienced football administrator.
Hi, I'm Jenna Scalacci, retired professional footballer. I'm now operations manager at Tottenham Hotspur Academy.
Good morning, my name's Peter Giorgio and I am a football and futsal referee.
Judges, please now come to a final panel decision. For your reference, the larger white cross is the calculated average of the 8 individual selections.
Thank you very much, Charlie. Good morning, everybody. Before I draw some lines in, I'm going to come to you, Joe. Yours is the orange cross there, a little bit to the right, that's magnified. If you could let us know what you're seeing in the photograph, what you think's happening, trajectory of the ball, and then how you reached your decision, please.
Brilliant. Yeah, morning, Matt. Morning all. Yeah, 2 players in shot. I would say 2 good eyes. I took a lineup from the player in green and white initially, particularly with the eye that we're looking at there. And I just noticed there's a little bit of white underneath his eye, so I just thought it can't be flat. And I also used the railing in the background to take my height initially, and then I drew a line up from the player in blue and white, who I do think is making himself favourite for the ball. I think the ball's coming in from right to left, as we always mention most weeks. I'm not sure about the pace of it, but I just noticed that the eyebrows are raised, the forehead is got the lines and the wrinkles there. So I do think the ball's quite imminent. I just don't think it's not as close as maybe some. But that's where I did. I cross-referenced the eyes and then I chose to put my cross where it is. I think both players are grounded as well. But I do think they're challenging and trying to contest for the ball. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Well, I'll draw some lines up. Yeah, Jenna's slightly at the top. I've got Nigel's a little bit lower. Excuse me. And then from this player, again up to Jenna. And down to Nigel. So we've got a fairly big spread from both players. So I'll come to you next, Jenna. Yours is the light blue cross there, a little bit further over to the left than Joe's and a little bit higher. What did you see?
Yeah, I thought the ball was coming in from right to left as we're looking at it. For me, I felt the player in blue and white was favourite. You can see his left arm, he's going across the player in green's body. He looks like he's in a stronger stance to win the ball, be favourite. In terms of the player in green, I felt he looked a bit off balance with his knee up and he's leaning back slightly. But I think both players are on the ground. I took my lineup from the player in green's eyes. I think he had the 2 better eyes out of the 2 players to take from. So I've taken a lineup from his eyes and his forehead as well. I thought he was leaning back slightly. And then I've used the player in blue, just taking a line up from his forehead as well, just because I couldn't really take too much from their eyes because they were quite blurry. But for me, I think the player in blue and white is gonna win the ball. And I just went a little bit steeper than everybody else in terms of the flight of the ball.
Yeah, thank you. And below yours, a little bit lower, is yours, Hugh, the green cross that's magnified there. What did you see?
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, for me, I agree. I think player in blue's the favourite. He's got his body ahead. And I think with the player in green off balance, Jenna said, I think that makes the blue and white player favourite. I just felt for me, the blue player looks really focused, like tensed mouth. I thought he was close to playing this. I think probably, to me, it looks like he's going to flick it with his head, sort of preparing his body to do that. And I just felt the player in green didn't see many wrinkles at the back of his neck. Didn't think his head was back too much. I just felt he was looking just slightly above horizontal, and with the blue kind of imminent to play this ball.
Okay, thank you very much. And slightly down and a little bit to the right is yours, Nigel. Yours is the purple cross there. How did you get to your position?
Thanks, Matt. Morning, everyone. Very similar to Hugh, I also, as everyone said so far, feel the ball's travelling from our right to our left, and I make the blue player favourite. He's just got his body in front there, and I also saw it as a flick on. I feel the ball was coming in at some speed. As far as the eye lines are concerned, player in green, on one of his eyes, we can see just a tiny bit of white underneath his eye, which makes me think with his head angle as well that he's looking just slightly above horizontal, but not masses. And for a player in blue, we've got one eye, as we can see, slightly blurred, but I thought he was looking out pretty much straight at 90 degrees from angle of his face. So yeah, I thought that it was fairly close for him. And as I say, I think he's just looking to get a flick on, just get his head under it and lift the ball over. So I felt contact was pretty imminent.
Yeah, thank you. Kieran, I'll come to you next. Yours, the blue cross, getting a little bit more central, or rather closer to the calculated average now. There's your position. How did you reach it?
Yes, morning everybody. Thank you, Matt. Yeah, I've got a slight different viewpoint of what's happening between the two players. I agree the ball's coming in from right to left. I think the player in green and white was going towards, he was in motion towards the ball, and the player in blue has come across him, if you like, from us, going away from us into the player. I think the player in green white is so focused on the ball that he feels that he's going to get there first, but there's contact's just been made, and that's why I think they're slightly off balance. I think the player in blue is leaning into the player in green. So I'm not certain that the player in blue and white is favoured to get the ball. He is in front of the player in green at this side, but I wonder whether the player in green and white is coming through him to reach the ball. I looked at the eye lines. I do think the player in green and white, which is probably the one that we all seem to be slightly different on. I think he's looking slightly upwards. His head is slightly backwards and he's looking slightly upwards. And that's why I placed my cross on that line, which many of the judges have done. I think the player in blue and white is looking up towards the ball, but I think he's also looking slightly across. It's a bit blurry, his eyes, so I wasn't certain exactly what was going on there, but that's why I placed my cross where it is.
Yeah, thank you. I'll come to you, Andy. You're sort of slap bang in the middle of everybody. There's your yellow cross. Do you agree with that?
Thanks, Matt. Yes, to be honest with you, I'm more akin with what Kieran's just said there. I feel that the guy in green is powering through. Now, I'll sort of talk you through my opinions on their two eye lines. The guy in green, as Kieran said, his head is slightly angled. So it's basically a straight line from the angle of his head for me. People saying about the whites under his eyes looking up. I just feel that because we're seeing that slight touch of white because his eye is very wide, his focus is basically wider, so his eyes are widened. So that's why you might see a slight bit of white, in my opinion. The guy in blue, exactly as Kieran said, I feel that he's stepping across. His mouth's closed, so he's almost like possibly with his left hand, the left arm, trying to like give a dig to the guy in green across. So mouth closed, like he's fully sort of firmed himself up for the impact. It may well be a very, very windy day because both of their hairlines are pushed quite back, or the fact that they're both coming towards the ball at pace. For me, is why their hair is all over the place. And again, yes, from right to left as we look, and I feel that the ball is coming in at pace.
Okay, thank you. And Peter, you're just below mine and to the right of Andy's. What did you see?
Yeah, I agree with the ball coming from right to left as we look at the screen. Also agree that the player in blue is probably favourite. With Kieran's viewing the player stepping across, I actually think he's actually launching himself up. If you look at his right thigh, you could say, I think that is moving upwards. So I think he's launching himself across and up to meet the ball. And at the same time, it blocked the player in green. He's off balance, and I've taken the centre of the ball from their eye lines, cross-reference those, and that's where I put the centre of the ball.
Yeah, thank you. And after my own, the red cross there, again, just a little bit higher up and to the right to yours, Peter. Again, I think Kieran, I'm on Kieran's side here. I think they're in motion. Ball's going right to left. They're coming at pace to reach the ball, and the blue players sort of just leaning in. You can see where they've made contact on the hip from their body positions. And I think blue's probably in there to flick it on or just get something on it and sort of upset the player in green. I think they're both focused on the ball. I took most of my trajectory from this player because we can see his eyeballs, and I sort of just took it up. He's looked ever so slightly up. You can see a little bit of wrinkling in his back. And this player's eyes are, to my mind, a bit blurry. So I just took a sort of 45-degree up from him and cross-referenced them. And that's how I reached my decision. So here we have a fairly big spread around a small cluster in the middle. And if I hover the magnifier over this, you see Andy's there and the calculated average. And as you see, there's 3 wholly outside and then 1 mostly outside. My contention, and I would say this because I'm quite close to the calculated average, is that the 2 sets, the Joe's and Hughes, mirror each other pretty much, and so do Jenna and Nigel's. Now, if I was to remove all of those because they're outside, the calculated average just shifts across to the left towards mine, but I don't think it shifts enough to make that decision as lead judge. I just don't think it makes sense based on what we're seeing and the differing opinions of the judges. So I'd like to come through you all, and if you want to see that someone's removed and see how it shifts it around, and then we can maybe come to a panel decision about whether we go with this calculated average or indeed we vote to remove one or the other or more than one. A little bit more complicated this week because of the spread, but that's what the panel's for. So Hugh, I'll come to you first.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, I think I agree with you. They offset each other. I also think if you just put the magnifier over the average, I think they're very narrowly out, and sometimes we've had one that's clearly an outlier far away. For me, they're close still to that. If that circle was the ball, they're still very close to that position. I think Nigel's is touching, and I agree they offset. So for me personally, I think with that and the fact I think it's a good average, I think it's feasible for where both are looking. I would say leave all 4 in. Yeah.
And as I say, we don't know the pace of the ball. We all think that the players are coming at pace. So actually, the spread for me personally is actually quite narrow because we just don't know how fast the ball is coming in. Thank you. Andy?
Once again, I feel that the average is good, but if I was being over particular, I'm afraid I would move the lowest one because I don't think that his eye line is, the guy in blue is as low as our lowest cross.
So that would be Nigel. So that would just pop it up here. Like that. Okay. Kieran?
Yes, Matt, I think I agree with your judgment here. I think the ones on the outside offset each other. I think the angle, most of us have got the line of the angle of the ball from the player in green and white, and most of us are on that line. And I think if you take all 4 out, it still stays on that line. And it's very difficult to say because the player in blue and white's eyes are blurry. It's very difficult to say how far away that ball is from player in green. So I'm happy with that judgment to leave everybody in.
Yeah, thank you. Joe?
Yeah, like you mentioned before, it is quite a tricky one to assess, and I'm mindful that everyone's opinion and judgment is where they've gone with. Could I just remove Hughes, please, just to see what it does? Yeah, it just brings it all a little bit closer. In hindsight, looking at it there, I think the average and the judgment, as everyone said, it is about right, and I'm happy with where the calculated average is.
Yeah, thank you. Nigel?
Thanks, Matt. And well judged today. I would agree with your opinions. I think that the crosses that are outside the circle are all fairly close. I mean, no one's an extreme outlier. And I think they do balance each other out. And I think it's probably removing all four or none at all. So for me, it would be none at all.
Yeah, thank you. Jenna?
Yeah, I think I agree. I think removing one, it doesn't move it enough to justify it. So I'm happy with how it is.
Yeah. Peter?
Yes, I think that's a very sensible judgment on that, keeping all four rings. And as it's been alluded to, it cancels, the four outside cancel each other out. So yeah, happy with that though it is.
Yeah, and I was just going to remove the four lines and then draw one more line in through this calculated average. So we can see all the players, the competition can see we're sort of quite balanced top and bottom, and it's just a distance and pace of ball. Okay, so Charlie, after a good panel debate about what is happening, we're going to judge at this calculated average with all 8 judges taken into consideration. And I will add that although in the past I have, as lead judge, removed choices outside the magnifier, as we've debated, you know, there's 4 people outside that from this calculated average, and we think they, as a panel, they balance themselves, and we're happy with this calculated average as shown.
Understood. Thanks, Matt. Then please click submit. Thank you, judges. The coordinates selected are x2756, y846. These coordinates will now be passed to the auditing company assets to calculate the winner of the competition, and they will then inform BOTB. That concludes the judging process. Thank you.